And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And, I apologize for, the noise in the background. It was really annoying. And unfortunately, it kind of cut me off from what I wanted to do. But aside from that, we were running out of time anyway, so it's not like I was going to be able to get the rest of my notes because again, I have so many other draft picks that I could talk about. So I'm probably going to continue that a little bit, in this segment as well as talk about, but first I want to talk about some basketball news that is going around, and in particularly the new contract signing for the Cavs. Evan Mobley, he ended up signing a huge contract with the Cavs, ended up being worth around 4 years, right? And actually, no, pardon me, I messed up the year. 5 years, and it is going to be worth $224 million, which could end up being worth $269 million. And this is a maximum rookie extension. And a lot of people, they were saying, oh, Evan Mobley doesn't really deserve all that money. Now, as I mentioned before, Franz Wagner, he was also one of these players that ended up making this much money. But unlike Franz Wagner, I think Evan Mobley has a huge chance of being a very, very solid option for the Cavs. If anything, he has the chance of being a number 2 or a number 1 option. Remember in the beginning of free agency, one of the options that the Cavs had was to either, keep Donovan Mitchell and trade away Garland, keep Garland, trade away Donovan, or trade them both and build around Evan Mobley. Now, that option was there for a reason. Evan Mobley is a very, very solid player. He is fantastic on both sides of the floor. Now, he might not put up, crazy numbers because, he still has to share the ball with Donovan and all the other players and Darius Garland as well. But Evan Mobley is a phenomenal player. He played really well in the playoffs as well. In the final game of the playoffs, he ended up scoring 33 points. Now, one of the things that a lot of people are going to overlook with Evan Mobley and his stats was that, he only averaged 15 points per game. Well, he was injured for a majority of the season. And I really think that if he wasn't injured, he would have been playing so much better. Now, he's arguably a top 10 power forward in this league. I can't really name many power forwards that are better than him. And one of the things that separates him a lot from power forwards is his defense. His defense is elite. One of the best power forward defenders that you will see. And on top of that, he has an offensive game to boot. So he has everything that you could possibly ask for in a power forward aside from playmaking. But really, when you're playing the power forward, that's not something that's really that's detrimental to your success. It's not a make or break. So I think this is a great pickup. Another thing that ended up happening in the basketball world, and another free agent signing, was Sam Hauser from the Boston Celtics. He ended up getting picked up again, and he signed a 4-year, $45 million contract with the Boston Celtics. Again, this is a lot of money to be giving the entire lineup because they are well over the second apron, I believe, with the amount of money that they're paying Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But aside from that, I really don't feel like it's that big of a deal because the Celtics, they're going to be title contenders for a very long time. So they've spent their summer signing championship rotation to contract extensions. Brad Stevens has proved to value continuity within his team, especially after their run in the 2023-2024 season. And so, keeping the core lineup intact, it's really going to help them. They probably have the best chances in the entire Eastern Conference to win it again. Now, if they don't win, maybe, hindsight will say that this move was rather bad. But again, the salary cap is increasing every single year, especially with this new TV deal. So in the end, these kinds of contracts might not even be that bad. Now, really, I kind of want to continue talking about my list of, the players in their draft. So I'm just going to go ahead and give off some more because I really, I wish I could have continued doing that for an even longer segment. And I'm sure most of you guys are interested in some of these draft picks, a little bit more interested than some of the free agent signings. So Tijan Salon, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He's for Charlotte, and he's actually one of the biggest surprises when Charlotte ended up drafting him. Like, a lot of people didn't expect him to get so high up on the draft list. Now, he is a 6'9" Frenchman. Again, there's like a trend in the NBA going on. It's called the French Revolution, where it's like ever since Victor Wembanyama got picked up from France, since he is a French basketball player, every single team in the draft was like looking for French players to draft. It was so many of them that were drafted in the top 10 alone, and I believe it was the most, and it was the first time that French basketball players were drafted back to back, number 1 and number 2. And again, like, it's a French Revolution. And so he's 6'9". Everyone just wants their own Wemby, I swear. And he showed flashes of greatness. Like, he showed his ability to score. He was able to score, and was able to dunk on people and things like that. However, his three-point shooting was very bad. He was 1 for 10 from beyond the three-point line. And not really many games to judge off of by this player. So I'm going to give him a solid C+, just because, again, that three-point shooting could be a lot better. And, he averaged 9 points in Vegas in the last 3 games, in the 3 games that he played. But that was really the only impressive stat that he was, like, the impressive averages that he was able to accumulate. Someone being 6'9", I really expected him to get a little bit more rebounds, and I also expected him to just be a little bit better. I don't know why, like, especially being picked so high. But again, I am a little bit more harsh because, Bronny was getting ruthlessly criticized. But I digress. Now, Donovan Clingan for the Portland Trailblazers. He ended up averaging 8 rebounds and 4.3 blocks in just under 26 minutes per game. He is such a talented defender from the games that I've seen, and he only made 2 total three-pointers during his sophomore season at UConn. But aside from that, I think this is, it would have been a great pickup had they not already had a center in the starting lineup with DeAndre Ayton. But this man and his blocks, I mean, seriously, 4.3 blocks in under 26 minutes, that's amazing. And so I'm going to have to give that a B+. Maybe it's close to an A-, high B+, because again, like, defense, and I really value defense, especially when it's coming from a center, and just the lack of three-point shooting, not a big fan of it, but again, that's not really where his game is going to be. Next, we have Rob Dillingham for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He was drafted by I believe he was drafted by the Spurs, and then he was quickly traded over to the Timberwolves. So he was all right. Like, I think he was all right. He ended up getting 25 points with 12 assists against the Magic in that one game. So yes, he was very, very talented. And, he's a very quick guard. He's got that quick first step. He's very shifty with the ball as well. That was from what I was able to see. And he ended up getting his opening game, however, he was struggling with 4 points and 5 assists. But he posted at least 10 points and 6 assists in his last 4 games with, in the summer league. So, that one game was a little bit meh, a little off. But again, averaging at least 10 points and 6 assists in every single game, very, very solid for a point guard. So I do have to give that an A-. And the only reason why it's not really that much higher is because of his defense. But again, being valued on the offensive side of the ball will really help the Timberwolves out. So I think that's pretty solid. I think they have a very solid player. Next, we have the Zach Edey, the friendly giant, as my cousin likes to call him, I believe. And, I mean, again, he is ridiculous. Now, he ended up, in the first game, recording 14 points and 15 rebounds, as well as 4 blocks. And he's, like, he's one of those prospects where it's like you either think he's going to be good or you think he's going to be bad, and there's no in between. So he did have a really good night in his opening debut, and that was really sort of the only game that I could really judge off of him. So I have to give him like a B, just because, like, again, he's 7'4", but he's really slow on his feet, and there's already a 7'4" center that is so much better on his feet, so much faster, this, that, and the other. And I mean, I think that, being 7'4" in the NBA is going to be rather valuable, but that's also going to make you a pretty big liability on the defense if you can't rotate out quick enough. So while it is very solid in the paint, it probably won't work against every single matchup out there, so I'm going to have to give it a B, maybe a B minus, somewhere around there. Again, these are really harsh. And finally, before I go into the final segment, I will also finish off my list in the final segment. We have the 10th pick, Cody Williams from the Utah Jazz. Now, he shot 17 for 23 on shots around the rim, according to Synergy. That's 73%, which is fantastic. And that's honestly like the most impressive part about his game, in my opinion. Like, the fact that he was able to finish around the rim so consistently. And that was an issue when he was on Colorado. So this was really huge. Like, this aspect of this game that he added onto himself in the summer league, I can only see his game just getting better and better as his years in the NBA continue. Now, his best showing was his best game was against Dallas, when he ended with 21 points, 9 for 15 shooting, and was able to get 4 assists as well as 3 rebounds. Now, while this isn't this was the only, positive performance, he had 3 games in the summer league with less than 7 points and scored 10 or more in the other 4 games. So, a little bit mixed. So I'm going to have to give it a B minus, just because, I don't really know exactly what to make of this player yet. So that's all I have in the 4th segment. And so with that out of the way, we can go ahead into the 5th segment, which we will talk about Team USA and who they're going to play up against next, because their next game is in 2 hours from now. And I will also probably continue the list that I have going on right now, and because I really do want to finish the list. So I will be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned.